On today's episode, I sit with some friends of mine from Augusta, Georgia, Sam and Corbin. Now, these guys are in my small group, and we meet every Monday at like 4:30 in the morning. They're crazy. But because of that small group, we have that connection. And I believe in that connection. It's one of the chapters in the book, Marriage After Addiction. We talk about playground, playmates, and play habits, and just how that shapes who we are. It helps us become better husbands and better spouses and better friends. And so on today's episode, you'll hear us talk about that and the importance in that, but also how we've struggled with process addiction and substance addiction. So if you haven't already subscribed to Recovery Vow on YouTube, you can do so. You watch this episode and all of our previous episodes. You can also follow us on social media, and you can also stream us on any of your favorite platform. But just enjoy today's episode with Sam and Corbin. Welcome to the Recovery Vow Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Kennedy. On today's episode, I'm going to be digging into Marriage After Addiction. This is my book, and it's hard. I'm just going to be honest with you. It is hard to do self-promotion or anything that I've done or worked on, so I hate this. I'm just being honest and transparent. But my producer tells me I've got to do it, so we're going to do it together. All right, so Marriage After Addiction is a workbook that I wrote for couples, specifically for the supporting spouse of someone who's dealt with addiction now, because you're both in recovery. But today, I'm going to sit with some friends of mine from Augusta, Georgia, Sam and Corbin, and they have a podcast, but I thought it would be important to talk about Chapter 4, which is the right game on the right playground. Pretty much what that means is your playground, your playmates, and your play habits. So we are in a small group together, and when I was out there doing my thing, the people that I surrounded myself with kind of defined the choices that I made. It's not their fault. I made the choice, but those people aren't in my circle now, and so I really believe in the power of who you surround yourself with and the impact that that makes and why that matters. So we're gonna dive right in. We're just gonna have a conversation, not an interview, because these are friends of mine. We meet every Monday morning. I don't know why I agreed to do this small group with them. They like meeting at Chick-fil-A at like 4 a.m. So we're there cooking chicken and making coffee. But we meet at the Chick-fil-A. Oh, I know what I want to do. Corbin and Sam, I want to ask one of the questions from chapter 4. At the end of every chapter, for couples that go through this together, there's a set of questions that they would answer from the supporting spouse's point of view, and then there's questions that I would answer as the person in recovery, and then there's a set of questions that are couples discussion questions that we kind of answer together. So when people order this book or buy this book, make sure that you get 2 copies, one for the person that's in recovery, and then the person that's the supporting spouse. So I'm going to open by reading this question to Corbin first.
You're going to blindside me.
Yeah. Yep. So just hold on. And then let Sam kind of speak into it, because the world knows that you and I are in recovery, but Sam isn't. So he's friends of ours.
You need to make it clear to the audience that we're not the couple.
Oh, God, yeah. Please understand that we did bring in 2 chairs. We just left the couch here because these guys are married and have children. We are not that kind of podcast, but we love you. These guys are that.
We're not married to each other, audience. We're married to our own wife.
I was waiting for no, I mean, I was going to just let it ride till the end of the conversation and just be like, oh, the way.
They're like, huh, this is interesting. This is new.
Where are these guys from? That's Augusta, Georgia. Okay. All right. I want to read. Let's see. Question 5 is read like this. Who are the people that who encourage growth versus endanger progress? How much access are we giving to both of the groups? So, Corbin, when you hear that, you know that the same people that we surrounded ourselves with in our past aren't the same today. So when I say, who are the people who encourage growth versus endanger progress? What does that speak to you if you were answering that question with your spouse?
If I was answering this with my spouse, and my spouse's name is Katie. She was on an episode last summer. July, I want to say. I don't even, what was the name of the episode?
I don't remember, but you can go back on our YouTube channel and subscribe and watch that episode.
Yeah, I was going to say we need to promote it. I would say, if I look, and you mentioned just play habits and playmates, the old friends that I had, and like you said, very, very well said. I made the choices. It's nobody else's fault but my own. But certainly the influences around you matter. And if I had to think about the people that were hindering my growth, it seemed like it was a natural, what's the word? It just was a growing phase of life. Once I stopped drinking, it was almost like the Lord was showing me the right route to go, and the right people were brought into my path. You, for instance, Sam, through this small group, the right people will come into your path at the right moment if you walk in obedience with the Lord. And it's scary. It's kind of like Peter stepping out in water. You know, you've got all this going around. You got a lot of shame and guilt and worry and fear. I didn't know who Corbin was going to be. And, but I stepped out of that boat and stepped onto the water, and I had my eyes focused on, I didn't know at the time him, but he was in the distance in the fog. And over the course of time, those relationships and those play habits and playmates just started being cut off. And it's hard to, in the moment, it's so hard. I mean, you know, that's your identity and those are your circle. But now looking back, I can see that those relationships were holding me back, maybe from being the Corbin I was called to be, and the Corbin I'm supposed to be. And so now the Lord has really surrounded me with the right influences to bring out the best version of me that's been hidden. So,
can I ask you, thinking about, you know, your past? You don't have to tell your whole story, but tell us. I know the story, but tell us what rock bottom was for Corbin before you made a decision to change everything. Before you got to the person Playground Playmates.
And do we want the condensed version of this?
Yeah,
Okay.
We can just do condensed. Like the moment. What was the day that you realized this rock bottom is my last moment of clarity? I need to do something different.
Yeah, fork in the road moment was my wife found the vodka cup in the laundry room, and I finally saw myself in a mirror clearly, that I was living in a secret, hiding something that I knew in my heart every swig I would take every night. Like, it was as if the Holy Spirit was speaking to me, like, stop, this isn't you, man, in a loving way. It was just a nudge. And when she found the vodka cup, and, you know, it led to questions, and I knew deep down that wasn't me. And it was the moment for me of like, you're either going to continue down the path that you were taught with your family and your dad. And my dad passed away when he was about 55. Or you can make a difference. You can make a change. You can break this. And that was the moment. And next
what did
day,
recovery? Yeah, what was that step look like?
Yeah, next day I started looking up online some resources, some places that I could go to. I'd already tried therapy, and I'd already tried doing it in my own strength, so to speak, and nothing seemed to work. And Stepping Stones popped up as a good recommendation. And we talked about this on one of our podcast episodes the other day, that I finally got told what I needed to hear. It wasn't what I wanted to hear, but it was what I needed to hear. And sometimes those truths, golly, they're so powerful. They hurt, they sting, but man, the generational impact of just hearing what you need to hear cannot be overstated.
Yeah.
And just telling me you can't continue to have a relationship with alcohol. You just can't.
So it was like you made a decision and you went to treatment. How fast did that process happen?
Within a couple of days. I want to say maybe even 2 days. Yeah, 2 days, a couple of days. Went to the facility, had the conversation with the lady who told me that, and I started at the facility actually going to the meetings the following Monday. Yeah. I went there for 60 days, graduated, got the tools and how to live a life of sobriety. Doesn't mean it was easy. I'm giving this very condensed. It was hard, dealing with a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of relationship problems, and my brain was a mess. It took about a year, which I'd say realistically for most people, if you are trying to begin that process of sobriety, I don't know what your experience was like, but for me, it took about a year for my brain to.
Yeah, my frontal lobe cortex is still under repair, I guess. I mean, it's
maybe it's a lifelong.
Yes, might be. I mean, we're in process the rest of our life,
right?
Because we first met, you were in that first year of sobriety, right? Whenever you came to...
Yeah, I want to say we started the book, what was that, September of 23, I want to say.
Yeah, because it hadn't been published yet, and I had printed copies.
So I started Stepping Stones in January 23, finished March 23, and I think we started... And, as you know, with dealing with spouses, you need to give it time for them to heal too, right? It's a sensitive subject. They're upset, and rightfully so. And so I'd say when we started our small group, that was finally the baby steps for us to begin healing our marriage, our relationship, communicating more, just working towards, some healing.
Because you had I remember when we first met, you didn't have like a huge wallet, but you had some kind of guards up. You just didn't, and I mean, everybody has that. We don't know what to expect. In that first year of my sobriety, like, don't Jesus juke me.
Yeah.
Right. Don't ask me to do a whole lot of, things. Like, let me keep my kids alive. Let me keep me alive. Let me keep a plant alive. Let me try pet a lot. You know what I mean? Like, there's just very basic things. And so
I was still in secret too. I was still, I didn't want my family to know. I didn't want certain friends to know. I remember going and playing golf in my first few months of sobriety, and some of the people I was playing with didn't realize it, and they would say things about sobriety, and I was sensitive. I mean, there's just no other way to put it. I was sensitive. I was tender.
Yeah.
And vulnerable and broken. And just rock bottom, like you said. So,
but you got in a small group, and so you started changing that dynamic.
Definitely.
And I think it's important to point out that we learned in that small group, from Katie's point of view. I remember the biggest thing that stood out, that I don't think it made her mad, but it was a point that she wanted to make, is that we are taught to be selfish. I've mentioned this a few times on the podcast. We're taught to be selfish in our sobriety because, we're taught, or people, once they're ready, taught it's God, then your spouse, then your kids. And that's hard for people to understand. But then when you're in sobriety, you have to, if that's looked at as a spine, then sobriety has to kind of be the spinal fluid that blends in between all of that, because if I don't have the sobriety, I can't be the person that's, in connection with God as I understand him.
Sure.
Or good for my spouse, or good for my children. So that's where the healthy selfishness comes in. I mean, you've got to not put yourself first, but you got to put your sobriety first. And just be willing. And it intimidates people,
Yeah.
So I do remember Katie, though, when we said that, she's like, well, what about us? Just because you and I went away to a treatment or whatever, no matter who our playground playmates and play habits were, we got to remember that they can't be forgotten about. We have to now bring them along with us. So,
and shout out to her. She did a great job. I mean, she really encouraged me and gave me the space and time that I needed to heal. And we circled back.
Yeah.
We circled back to her doing this, and we had difficult conversations, and I couldn't imagine doing that with anybody else.
Yeah.
So she's been great.
How about our young friend Sam over here that
who's leading
our small group at the CFA on Mondays? Now, Sam, I haven't known you that long, but I met you through this small group. But the guys are in that small group. You have an impact on each one of us through the way that you deliver your message of your relationship with God as you understand him. So, have you ever dealt with anything that could have been addiction?
Yeah, that's a great question, Eric. Thanks for having us on. I'm grateful to be here. I think the closest thing I would say to an addiction that I've struggled with in the past, and even now is still a struggle, would be really sexual sin. I think not necessarily something unique to me. I know that's something that a lot of people struggle with. But I think one of the keys there in really any type of sin that gets a stronghold in your life, something that's really hard to overcome, is really emphasizing who you're around. Even that question you asked, if you're hanging around a group of people, whether, you're struggling with alcohol or struggling with pornography or whatever it is, if you're hanging around a group of people, Eric, that maybe don't take it very seriously, if it's kind of on the back burner, that's going to really play into how you handle your own sin, how you handle your own sobriety, your own struggles, because we're a product of our environment. And I think if we're not careful who we're around, we're going to end up acting the same way and steering people the same way that we're around. And so one of the biggest blessings for me has been you guys and in our small group, because when I'm surrounding myself by people that are encouraging growth, encouraging pursuit of God, and encouraging pursuit of godly character, that's going to rub off on me. And so really one of the biggest things I think that I've tried to do in my struggle to be pure is by surrounding myself with godly men. That is, I think, one of the core foundational pieces in pursuing freedom from any type of addiction.
Yeah, no, I get it. And the book, people see that and they may think that, marriage after addiction is for people that just have had issues with drugs and alcohol, but that's not the case. In the first chapter, we explain the difference between a substance addiction and a process addiction. Porn would be a process addiction, and it needs to be worked through just like any other thing that is a hurt habit, hang up, whatever you want to call it. And so, it's a good tool and a resource. I think about a couple of our buddies in our small group, and John comes to mind. I love John. He's just a big football.
Shout out John.
Yeah. Just this guy.
Shout out John.
That's what I like. That's what I was getting.
Very genuine.
Raw. He solely admits his thoughts and processes and all the things that he feels like he's working on. He doesn't understand how much he helps me just because he's real.
Well, we've talked about that in the last few meetings, and he's said that about like me and about Sam, and just how it helps him like when we bring stuff into the light, and how he's like, oh man, I've been struggling with that, and I'm so glad you said that. Now, and this group is real, this group is real. And that's the key, is not going in and just being fluff and pretend, like actually being vulnerable. And like, we all struggle with the same things.
That's the thing, Corbin. The more you hang out with good people, because you're a product of your environment, they rub off on you, and you start to realize that we all have so much in common.
Yeah.
The thing that you think you're struggling with that nobody else is, or you don't want to bring it into the light because of how people might think about you. When you're around a good group of guys, or ladies, or whoever you're around that is good for you, it's amazing. The healing that happens, maybe not overnight, but over time, it's a beautiful thing.
100%.
And I think it's important too, like for folks that go through what Corbin and I went through, we may not be ready for a small group in that first year. It's intimidating, especially when you've defined yourself as this person, and now I'm trying to think of the best word. Crazy Christian isn't a good word to use, but I'm saying it. Like, I don't want in the beginning to be in a situation where I can't be myself, and that's what I mean when I say that about John. Like, when I joined a small group, when I was invited to a small group, I was nervous going into that because I looked at myself as, right here, which is fine. And these people had it together. That's intimidating to new people when they walk in that are in recovery, especially when you're just trying your best to do the next right thing.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out what that looks like.
When in the midst of drinking, now seeing hindsight and removing the plank, it's like I was wearing a mask. And so at that beginning stage of going to Stepping Stones and taking the mask off and walking into a room of like 20 other people, I didn't know these people from Adam, but they all struggled with substance abuse, whether it was alcohol, pills, whatever. And I remember as they were going around the room, every morning we would go through this routine for about an hour and a half, and each person would spend some time talking about their life and just kind of unpacking where they're at, how many days sober they are, what they struggled with, what their sobriety date is. And the things that they would say, they were just like, yeah, this was going on and that was going on. And I felt like this. And I was just like, wait a second. They're talking my language. This is the first time I'm seeing actual spiritual darkness coming into the light where there was healing there. And it was just so subtle, but it was so powerful at the same time. And that's so huge getting into small groups to do that.
Yeah. No, you're right. I remember when I was in treatment, you look around the room and it ranged from
all kind
20 something to, I think one lady was in her 70s.
Yeah.
She had an issue with pills but we all wanted the same thing. And it didn't matter what house we came from when we got there.
Yeah.
We all had the same issue. You know what I mean? And I say house because I mean background.
Yeah.
Or authority or placement in the world. You know what I mean? When I picked you guys up this morning at the airport, I know that you guys have a podcast, Following Him, great podcast. But you guys talk about the Bible a lot. I don't, because I'm still learning, you know what I mean? I'm still reading the Bible. And I'm always going to be in process trying to figure that out, but
we don't have it all figured out.
Oh, good. Yeah. Nobody does.
I think it's a lifelong thing,
but I mean, I appreciate you guys, doing that and educating people from your point of view in that. But you asked, this came up, Mark 2.
Mm-hmm.
So Mark 2 is kind of a story of small groups if you think about it. And I don't get preachy a lot, and I'm not doing that here, but you asked, or maybe it was Gary, what is Recovery Vow? If you put a scripture with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say it's a Mark 2 nonprofit. I'm knocking on door to door. You want to give us raise money for our nonprofit? But in Mark 2, Jesus returned to Capernaum, and he was in Peter's house, and all these folks gather around just to get closer to him. And there was a paralytic man outside, and this group of people came and they took him to the roof and they tore the roof off and they lowered them
because they couldn't even get to the house.
Right. And so I take myself,
mm-hmm.
and I can be in every one of those three dynamics in that story.
Mm-hmm.
I've been the person that's outside of the house looking
with friends, dragging you
with friends.
Yeah.
I've been the person on the mat,
mm-hmm.
and I've been the person that's worked really hard to carry somebody to the roof, to do the work, to get them to see what God has in store for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what recovery is
mm-hmm.
for a lot of people, especially when you think about the families that are affected. That's our original small group, and not every relationship is going to be fixed immediately, and some may be torn afterwards. But there's a sense of hope in that scripture that I love so much, that we all strive to want the same thing, or we want the same thing for others. And that's just to be closer to God.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, I'm not here to preach the word. I'm here to just break it down for the way that my, still slightly ignorant mind that's still understanding it. And
it's a perfect illustration.
That's how I understand it.
Because when you hit rock bottom, when Katie found that vodka cup, I was the paralytic man,
mm-hmm.
right? Like I couldn't walk. I was numb and I needed help.
Yep.
Who was going to carry me?
And she carried you to the roof.
She carried me to the roof, and Jesus met me at stepping stones, right? And it was the beginning of the process of healing.
Yep.
Yeah. And now it's the circle of life. Now if I see a paralytic man, now I want to be the one carrying that paralytic man to the roof.
Yeah.
Same with you.
Yeah.
You want to be that friend to carry the paralytic to Jesus, or however that person needs to be healed. Yeah.
I love that story.
It's a perfect story.
Do you and your spouse need real connection on your recovery journey? Are you looking for resources to help you keep your marriage intact? The Recovery Vow Collective exists to support couples in recovery with tools, community, and live monthly support from myself and my team. Join us now at recoveryvow.com/collective. So why don't you guys tell Sam, both of you guys are married. Tell me a little bit about your marriage. How many kids you got?
Yeah, so I've been married. It'll be 6 years on November 9th. I think I got that date right. And I've got it right. Yeah. Whew. I've been, 3 kids. Christy's 4. My son Sonny is 2. And then my little girl Sally is is 7 months old now. So born in January, or I guess 8 months old. So yeah, marriage is, I always heard this growing up, even before I got married, is marriage is one of the hardest but best things you could ever do. And I was, okay, whatever, you hear that when you're younger, and it's so true. It is a hard thing. You stick two selfish people in the same house, and we're called to live together in unity and love and serve each other. That is a hard thing.
And add kids to that.
And then you add kids to it. Yeah. But it is also, I think when you embrace and acknowledge the potential difficulties there, embrace it, and then realize how the Lord is using that to grow you is really a beautiful, amazing thing. And I think our marriage is far from perfect, mostly because I'm involved, but through that, the Lord, you guys all laugh because that's true. Okay. But the Lord is using that to just doing some amazing things, not only through us, but towards our kids. And so it's a really beautiful thing. But yeah, it's work. You got to work hard, and you have to expect there's going to be some bumps. But the more you grow in that, the more the Lord shapes and uses you. It's an amazing thing. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Can I ask you a serious question?
Absolutely.
And I don't mean this to be like an interview, but I just want to ask the question. When you admit to your spouse that you have this process issue, addiction, whatever you want to call it, to a process of substance like pornography, how did that play out in the house? Was it the same as the vodka cup on the floor, and you walked through that together? How's that look for you guys?
Yeah.
Especially because you're like, how old are you, 20?
No, yeah, 27. 27, I know. I was like, 20.
Yeah, you can go.
But yeah, so the way that's worked out for us is, and I should clarify, I struggle with a lot more than just porn, but that's, I would say, is the number one thing that's been a struggle for me. It reached a point where I just had to admit to her, come and confess. I don't have the ability to, I'm not a very sneaky person. Sometimes I wish I was more sneaky, but my conscience just yells at me so much that I just have to admit it after certain points. So I've had to come to my wife multiple times in our marriage and confess, pornography and stuff like that. And, again, when I say it's such a hard thing, because that leads to some very, very hard conversations. It's led to lots of difficult seasons, mostly, again, due to my own selfishness and sin. But through the Lord really using, my honesty and my willingness to, no matter the cost, pursue healing. That really is, for me, what it comes down to is, do I care more about just being comfortable and not having conflict in my marriage, or do I care more about having a marriage that is actually thriving and going in the right direction? And I reached the point, I care more about it thriving and going in the right direction than just being comfortable. And so admitting to her, and then getting accountability in my life, taking the right steps. It's not enough just to say it. You actually have to put feet on the ground and start moving. And then from my wife's end, I think I can speak for her. She's learned a lot about forgiveness, right? How do I forgive somebody that's wronged me, and wronged God, right? And so, it's been a long journey, and definitely not perfect at all by any stretch, but it's been amazing to see that even through my own sin, how the Lord's used that to grow and make me the person I am today. And I even think of, Corbin's story, and I think of yours. Yes. You don't want to go back and relive those days, but you would not be here today without what happened. Right. There's just no way.
100%.
And I take some comfort in that.
Do you think a process addiction like that should be treated the same as a substance addiction? Because substance is going to treatment, marking your time in sobriety. Do you feel like if you viewed that sin or that porn, for example, if that happened again, would you count that as a relapse?
Yes, I would count it as a relapse in the sense of I'm falling back into something that I know I shouldn't. That is horrible for me and for my marriage. So yes, that is a relapse in that sense. I would say I would absolutely want to treat it like a substance in the sense of I need to take this seriously. I need to put some steps in my life and not just kind of not act like it's not a big deal. Yep. The reason Corbin went to stepping stones. The reason people go to Recovery Vow, the reason they order your book is because it's gotten so bad they realize they need help. It's out of their control. And so just like a substance addiction, a process addiction would be the same. It needs to get bad enough for you to realize I can't do this on my own and I need help. And that means getting help, whether that's talking to you, your book, some program. It's getting off your butt and making some steps. Otherwise, you're just going to live in relapse.
Yeah. I wonder, and I'll have to look at ChatGPT because I love ChatGPT. But I wonder if you ask ChatGPT, what are the amount of marriages that fail due to sexual addiction? Because I feel like sexual addiction is on the rise just from things I read and people talk about on the podcast. In comparison to marriages that suffer from, an alcohol or drug addiction. So I have to look at that and find out.
I would, I'm just guessing if you want to look it up while I'm talking. I think that like substance abuse is a gateway into other sin. When you get that liquid courage. Yeah. Yeah. But at the same time, same thing could be said as I'm thinking with sexual addiction through pornography. Sin's never satisfied, right? So whichever route you go, it's probably going to lead you down a path of destruction. Let's just call it like it is. I don't think whatever the stats say.
Our producer, Eric, just read out that 56% of marriages, this is shocking, according to ChatGPT, 56% of marriages fail from some type of sexual addiction content, porn.
And ChatGPT is never wrong.
No, I love it. And 4%.
4%, yeah.
Which I thought that would be a higher number, like a way higher number. I thought like 50%.
I wonder if it's 4% of recovered.
So my question is, what's the other 40%? Is it money? Money's got to be up there.
It's got to be.
Finances has got to be 20%, I bet. Something like that.
Yeah.
But I think that the point being, whatever it is you struggle with, you're not alone. You're not unique. There's millions of other people. And then you need to be in a group that's going to push you to take your stuff seriously and get help, but also not push you away when you have to admit your sin.
Well, the key is what you just said, and it goes back to Eric's question at the very beginning to me, is who that group is. Yeah. Who that group is so important, because if you get around the group that's going to, call it tickling your ears, telling you what you want to hear, you got to watch out for that. Because, that's the key is if you've got friends that are just going to tell you always what you want to hear, that's not going to sharpen you and help you.
Yeah, I got a buddy, JT, at work that he is like, he's the pastor, you know what I mean?
Happy late birthday, JT.
Yeah, happy late birthday, JT. We love you. But he's the one that tells me he's the one that was raised, like there's certain movies he won't watch because he knows it will affect the way he thinks. Mm-hmm. Certain music he won't listen to, my music. He's like, I can't listen to that, but yeah, I cannot not listen to that kind of stuff, So it depends on how severe and how far you want to go with it too.
Yeah,
if it's like, it doesn't mean that I don't believe what he's saying. It is true. Like if I watch a bunch of just
junk,
I
mean, you fill yourself with junk, you're going to get junk out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love a good documentary or a good,
good Netflix show
or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's so, I get it. I'm just not that strict.
Yeah.
As long as I'm sober, everybody else is good. Yeah, that's what we need.
Well, and I think, Eric, that's where, and there's multiple passages in the scriptures that talk about it, but that's where we are called to live in community. We're called to live with a group of like-minded people. We're told that if you're around people with bad character, that's going to affect you. But I think we're also called to meet each other with grace. It's okay if Eric and I disagree on what type of movies we're going to watch. That's okay. Mm-hmm. That's not, Jesus isn't going to ask me when I get to the pearly gates, if I make it, hey, how many R-rated movies did you get? That's not going to be the question. Again, I'm not saying that there aren't movies we shouldn't watch. There's tons of movies we shouldn't watch, but it's so easy to make Eric and I's relationship or Corbin and I's relationship about hey, what movies, what music, and we just make all these rules and rules, instead of realizing, no, we're called to relationship, not only with Jesus, but to each other. And so if we do see something in each other's life that maybe we're worried about, we should come alongside, put a hand on the shoulder instead of a shove in the back, right? And I think if we had that mentality, it would really save probably a lot of relationships.
Well, we have to do it in our marriages too. And then I think about Kristen and I, like I came, nothing wrong with it. I was raised in a mobile home. She lives in a brick home, and that doesn't matter, but it kind of, you're brought up differently. So you have to find the level playing field. Same with my friend JT I'm talking about. Well, he's not going to listen to 90s rock or rap like I would play on the golf course.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to listen to all the Christian music that I love, but I'm not going to play that, on repeat on the golf course. So we listen to yacht rock.
Yeah.
And it's like a happy medium.
Yeah.
So it's a way that we kind of honor each other. And that's, but it's because I want to surround myself with that small group of people. I have a small group of people. Have you guys ever taken the Enneagram?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a 3. You've ever taken the Enneagram?
I can't remember my number. It's on my phone, but I don't.
As in told a million times that I need you to what number I'm told that a million times.
But like, I know a lot of people and enjoy knowing a lot of people, but I don't have that closeness, but with just a few people. And I'll work on the relationships that I want to matter. Those are the ones that I nurture. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's because I want those people. JT's 10 years younger than I am almost, but I think about him and his influence in just planting those small seeds of, what you listen to, what you watch, all that. That mean I'm going to do it, but he just plants the seed.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm that way. I can be that for other people that allow me to be in their circle.
Right.
You guys would be that, John would be that. And so that's where I want to just circle back as we finish the conversation of just the importance of our playgrounds, our playmates, and our play habits in different kinds of recovery. So as we kind of land the plane a little bit, let's highlight what you guys are doing on your podcast, Following Him. Tell me where that came from. Okay.
Where the name came from or the podcast?
No, I want to hear, because this is how I want you to use this platform to let people know that they can come listen to you guys. So where did it come from?
So this is the logo.
Yes.
Shout out to our wife. She came up with the design and everything. She did a great job. So it's up and coming. What are we, 6 months in? Something like that?
I think we're 3.5 months of episodes. We've been at it for 6 months.
Right.
About 3.5 of episodes.
What made you decide to do it?
Through the small group. There's another reason to have a small group. You want to? Yeah,
I'll share. So, Hurricane Helene hit Augusta, Georgia really bad. Everybody knows that from, 10, 11 months ago. So the normal group that I was meeting with was like 120 people, like a men's breakfast at a church. So that stopped for Hurricane Helene for 4 weeks. So me and John and Alan, I texted both of them and a couple other guys and was like, hey, let's just meet once a week while, we wait for momentum. That's the name of the group, to start back up. And so we met at Chick-fil-A on Mondays at 6:30. And, some other guys came, but it was eventually just me, Alan, and John for a little bit. And then, we just decided we loved it so much, because it was, the bigger group was great, but it was hard to get, actually, intimate, if you will, and talk about deep things. And so we never stopped. We've been meeting for almost a year. And so Alan's good buddies with Corbin, invited Corbin, and I had met Corbin once or twice before. So Corbin came 1 week, I think it was early January, and we just hit it off. We started talking the word, and which is what we do on those Monday mornings. And he was like, "Hey, I've been thinking about starting a podcast. Would you want to maybe do that with me?" And I'm like, sure. What are we going to do it about? And we decided to start going through the book of Matthew line by line and just talking about how the Word of God can play a very important and crucial role in somebody's life today in 2025, and what that looks like for a 27-year-old real estate agent and a 37-year-old. Yeah. He looks really
right.
A 37-year-old insurance agent. And so just going through it, and it's been really great. We call it Following Him because that's our life goal, man. Our life goal as Christians is to follow Jesus. And so we're doing that through the book of Matthew. Just really grateful for Corbin's invitation to kind of hop on board, because it's been a wild and woolly ride the last 9 months.
You know, Eric, I know you started this up a little over a year ago, but it's just, you kind of learn as you go. It's all on the fly.
Yeah.
And
well, my mom said I had the perfect face for radio.
And you got the nice voice too. Yeah, it's a voice too. But yeah, we're figuring it out. And like you said, line by line, verse by verse. And we're just where God's word will meet you in your life. Not only that, but just we're using our story, our vulnerabilities, and we're just being transparent with people and showing them where the gospel can really transform you if you receive it. A lot of people, they don't want to acknowledge what it can do for them. And I hope and pray that we inspire them to receive the gospel is really the only hope that we have on this side that can transform a broken drunk and someone who struggles with porn. I mean, like, it's the only thing, and we're all on the same level playing field.
Yep.
You know,
just lower to the roof.
That's it, man. Yeah, just hold them to the roof.
And then Eric, you've been in our group for what, 4 months?
If you count all the Mondays I've shown up, month.
With your cream, with a dabble of coffee in it.
If anyone saw us either in Eric's office at or at Chick-fil-A, they'd be like, "What are these guys doing?" We were a weird group, but we have
with flip-flops and gym shorts.
Yeah, it's so much fun. The conversations are crazy. John brings the humor for sure. So,
you know, I would say though that our group, and call me biased, but this is what it's supposed to be like as a Christian, right? Culture has really gotten the name of Christianity has been a little bit misconstrued in what represents a true Christian. But like this fellowship that we have, to me, it represents true brotherhood of what Jesus came and built with his disciples. And I mean, he had Matthew, who was this awful, sinful tax collector, mixed with Peter and John. And like, you know, those guys didn't quite have everything together, but they came together and they formed a brotherhood, you know, and
the original small group.
Yeah. It's special. It truly, to me, that is following Christ.
They change each other's lives.
Absolutely. And that's what happens with us.
And that's why it's important. But I do want to say that I'm very thankful that you guys got up at whatever time this morning and made the flight and travel here to Dallas, Texas.
Wouldn't miss it, man. Beautiful facility and unbelievable studio you got here today.
We're here at EXO Studios in Southlake, and it's been such a blessing to connect with this group. They are fantastic in the marriage ministry and how they're reaching a lot of people. And so I'm just so grateful you guys came. No, we're gonna hang out for the next couple of days. We're gonna go to a baseball game tonight. We'll go downtown Dallas later and we'll get some dinner. But it means the world to me that you came. And I want to say to both of you that I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
And I'm very proud of you too. You know, I kind of threw you a curveball to kind of get you to talk about, you know, a substance or a process addiction. Because I sent you a chat GPT thing 2 months ago about what we're going to talk about, just kind of throw you off.
That I definitely probably did not read.
No, you didn't.
That's okay.
But I do want to just say again, thank you for coming, making the trip. And I know that this episode in its own way will reach someone. And that's what we're doing this for, is that
the one lost sheep or the paralytic that needs to be hauled up to the roof.
Look at you, Pastor.
Yeah, man. No, we're proud of you too. You're doing great things, man. And love what you're doing for your families. And
for you, those that don't know, that Recovery Vow is a nonprofit, and Corbin's on my board. He's also one of our donors and supporters. And so, we, outside of our friendship, we have that, and it just means a lot. It means a lot. You're part of the reason that we're doing what we're doing.
It's always part of it.
So thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Enjoyed having you.
Thank you for having us.